this Mark's Reviews and Tutorials video. Have a look at this engine here and you'll see down the front there, no oil, down the side, no oil. Have a comparison with this photo I'm going to cut in now. Have a look at that. Down the front there, that's exactly the same engine. And this video here is going to be all about common oil leak places for BMWs. Now, I'm in the very fortunate situation that I have a mate who is a mechanic at BMW. So therefore, he gets these engines all the time and knows what the common faults are and what's going in. This car went in for a roadworthy check, and the mechanic, who says he's a BMW specialist, quoted me to replace the sump gasket down underneath, because as you saw from that photo before, there was oil everywhere, but it was coming from the top down. I mentioned to my BMW mechanic friend, who works for a BMW dealer, he says it's very, very rare that these engines, now this is a 20 petrol engine. A lot of you would have picked it by seeing where this is the oil filter here and the oil cooler off to the side. So it's a 120i, 320i, 520i, it's the 20i engine. So it can come in an X3, it can come in an X1, X2, it can come in everything. It's the 4-cylinder, 2-litre engine. And what I'm going to tell you, it's not the turbo, okay? It's the one before that. So up until 2012, it's the 2-litre BMW petrol engine, right the way back till probably 2002, 2003, they had this same engine. So it's before the turbocharger. I'll do another video, I'll put a link up here. I've got a 20i with a turbocharger in it here. That's a 2013. Totally different engine. It's a total different rebuild. So, where are the common oil leaks on this? Guess what? The sump gasket was absolutely fine. It's never been replaced. And I picked up all of the leaks on this engine because the BMW mechanic told me where the common oil leaks are. And that is, this is your oil cooler and the oil filter housing. You can get a kit of gaskets to go onto this and replace those gaskets. Very, very common that those gaskets need to be replaced, and it's quite simple. It's a matter of unbolting and bolting up. It's low level grade. If you're a good DIY mechanic, it's pretty low level grade to be able to manage that and handle it. That's point one. Buy that kit and change that. And you see the oil leaks there and then it runs down, so it looks like it's leaking from down further down. The other place these guys leak, you'll see the blue in here, comparing back to that dirty photo I showed you before that was black. That's the Tappet cover gasket, goes right around the engine. That's another very, very common place that these leak and a gasket that needs to be replaced. That's plastic cover off, it's Tappet cover off, it's take the old gasket off, it's clean everything up, any old silicone. And you'll see here on the corners there's a little bit of silicone popping out there and there. When this was put on, when we put this on, the tip, again, from the BMW mechanic, is just a little bit of silicone in the corners, because even with a brand new gasket, you can get a little bit of weeping, or that would be the first weeping spot for them to go. So number one, most common spot is all around the oil filter and the cooler, gaskets there. Number two is the Tappet cover gasket. That needed to be replaced, that needed to be replaced. Now, okay, so down the side of the engine here, down below that coolant pipe where it goes into the engine, you see that bolt? That is the adjuster for the chain, the cam chain. So we're talking about below that silver, or beside, as you're watching at the video here, that big silver headed bolt, that also can come loose. Now, if you're lucky, that'll just be a matter of tightening that up, and that'll come good for you to stop an oil leak. That's another common place that these guys can leak. So there's the three most common, and they are all up nice and high. So oil, Tappet cover, and then that bolt down there. Now, the mechanic said to me, look, let's do those three first, worry about the sump gasket later, because it hardly ever leaks and it's probably not a problem. So we did 1, 2, 3. It was leaking from all 3 points. The last one I'm going to mention, down here, the Vanos, these silver clips where that holds on, there's little rubber O-rings in there. They were absolutely shot as well. They were hard and actually broke up in our fingers when we pulled them out. So replacing the rubber gaskets on the Vanos, you would have seen in that dirty photo I showed you at the start, oil was pouring out down there. It was going all over the belts and all over everything else. So my tip to you, and also in the back, there's a fitting in the back of the engine as well that can be tightened up. and have a gasket. And then that's the most common oil leak places for this. It's not the sump gasket or anywhere else or anything lower. So they're the ones to definitely check to start off with if you're getting, you know, for a roadworthy check or a TUV or whatever it is that you're needing to get your oil leaks fixed for. That's the place. If I'd gone with this mechanic and it was a very expensive switch out to do the sump gasket, guess what? He would have changed the sump gasket, then come back to me and said, oh, it's still leaking from other places. So that, which was like $1,000 or something crazy, because the engine had to be lifted up off the chassis, would have been an absolute total waste of time. So yeah, with these engines, the most common faults are up high, and then the oil runs down and makes a big mess from there. So start high, fix those leaks first, and then when you got all those fixed, if it's still leaking down below, absolutely you replace those parts. But a lot of the times, it absolutely ain't going to be necessary. So 1, 2, Tappet cover. 3 is that bolt down there. 4 is the Vanos. 5 is over the back. If it's leaking from the back, there's a vacuum, I can't remember what it was called, but there's a part over the back, in the back of the head, that's got an O-ring in it, a specialist O-ring in it as well. So there you go. They're the most common spots. And start high on these engines and see how you go from there. Good luck.